is not only famous for Vikings, it also includes some of the most incredible train journeys on Earth. But spectacular scenery can be deadly.
Blocks of rock fell down from the mountain and hit the railroad.
Staying on track means moving mountains.
My favorite part of the job is to blow stuff up.
This rare, epic adventure takes me way up north.
We're crossing a line to another world, the Arctic world.
Join me as we ride across the unforgiving terrain of Norway's Bergen Railway and Nordland Line. The Kingdom of Norway boasts not one, but two of the most spectacular train journeys in the world.
You will see the glaciers, you will see the fjords, then you really feel that you are climbing up to the mountains.
I'll jump on the Nordland Line to head north from Trondheim to Buda. But first, the Bergen Line, or Bergensbanen, begins in Norway's capital, Oslo, traveling across the country to the west coast city of Bergen. This trip from Oslo to Bergen has lots of beautiful landscapes and fjords for tourists to take in. But before our train can make the trip, maintenance crews here in Oslo have a ton of work to do. 3 times a year, Bergen Line mechanics give their locomotives a comprehensive tune-up. They don't just look under the 5.5-ton hood, they take the whole thing off.
That gives us access to all the components. For example, the compressor, the fan, the firefighting equipment. I've been working here for 10 years, and we work with everything from electrical work to mechanical work, changing parts. You learn something new every day.
On the other side of the maintenance depot, mechanics prepare to lift an 88-ton passenger carriage so they can examine its wheel sets, called bogies.
Comes up, yes. We have to take it out on this side.
They've spotted a problem with the bogie's pillows, hollow rubber discs that act as shock absorbers.
This pillow here is old and it's maybe not holding the air, so we can have leakage when we're putting together.
Flat pillows can mean more than a rough ride. They can make the carriage unstable.
Pillows, they have to be 100%, so we're just replacing it to be sure that it's not be an air leak later.
Only after a locomotive is declared fit for duty can it return to the tracks of Oslo Central Station. Where Chief Conductor Ode Henrik is responsible for the train being ready to cross the mountains.
It's a little bit walking. The train is 244 meters long.
The locomotive leading the charge is the electrically powered EL-18. It's 4.3 meters tall, 3 meters wide, and 18.5 meters long. The loco draws power from an overhead line through its pantograph to drive the motor and deliver over 7,300 horsepower. That's enough to pull a maximum payload of 2,040 tons, the weight of more than 1,100 passenger cars. Once Ode is satisfied with the exterior, he joins engineer Stian Usletten for the final check.
We are checking the brakes. Over the mountains must be a good brakes.
When the equivalent of 1,100 cars need to stop fast, good brakes are critical.
I use pneumatic brake for the whole train. I just put it towards me, like that.
Pneumatic brakes let the driver quickly stop the whole train. When he needs to stop faster, there's a second option.
If I need some more brake then I can use the electrical brake only for locomotive.
Electromagnetic brakes are strictly for emergency stops. These are sets of steel bars fixed between the wheels. The steel bars drop to the track and are magnetized by an electric current. The supermagnetic bars then grip the tracks, holding the locomotive firmly in place.
If I don't use the brake for the whole train and only for the locomotive, you will get a little ding, ding, like that in the wagons, you know?
I've got my ticket, and I'm ready to grab a seat for what I'm told is one awesome journey.
Please observe that this is train to Bergen. Departure time from Oslo Central, 8:25.
Our nearly 500-kilometer trek begins in Oslo. The train runs through farm country to Hønefoss, then into the Hallingdal Valley. From there, we pass Hardangervidda National Park, with a stop in Finsa. Then the train heads through the Nordland Valley and along the edge of a fjord before reaching Bergen after 7 hours. It doesn't take long for our train to reach the first of the Bergen Line's most defining features. So we're about to go into a tunnel, and it's incredible because on this Bergen Line, there's actually 182 of them, and they stretch over a length of 73 kilometers. And to put that into perspective, if you stacked all those tunnels on top of each other, it would equal 8.5 times the height of Mount Everest. But the rail network's single-track tunnels can be a bottleneck for trains. So Norway's rail system is constantly upgrading its capacity. 10 kilometers south of Oslo, the town of Oslo is the site of the $3 billion Follo tunnel project. When it opens, the tunnel will have dual tracks, allowing two-way traffic or express service. They're digging deep to create what will be the longest railway tunnel in the country.
And just now, we are inside, in front of the 4 tunnel boring machines.
The tunnel boring machine, or TBM for short, is a massive multitasker. A round cutter head munches through rock at 2 revolutions per minute, using dozens of steel cutters. Excavated material is moved out on a conveyor belt, while hydraulic cylinders push the TBM forward.
If we have a very good day, we may excavate nearly 30 meters of tunnel during one day.
The TBM doesn't just bore a hole, it builds the tunnel as it goes. Its hydraulic arms lift and bolt concrete support rings into place. Each ring weighs almost 8 tons. The rings resist the massive weight above while keeping out the moisture below.
And altogether, we will install 20,000 rings for this tunnel project.
But even rock-chewing behemoths are not immune to the daily grind of Norwegian bedrock.
They are changing cutters, and they are every day fighting against these extreme hard rock conditions.
Up to 20 cutters are replaced each day.
Many will say that this is extreme hard rock conditions, but that's how it is when we are tunneling in Norway. We are used to it.
There's no room for surprises when you're deep underground. Geologists and their probes are way ahead of the TBMs.
We do a lot of investigations beforehand, so we know more or less where these weakness zones and so on going to be. So we have this estimated already, so we can be prepared.
Construction started in 2015, and the high-speed rail tunnel is expected to open in December 2021. By 2030, it's estimated that Norway will spend nearly $20 billion to modernize all 4,000 kilometers of its rail network.
The Follo project is the largest infrastructure project under construction in Norway today, and it's a fantastic project.
Outside Oslo, we pick up speed to 160 kilometers an hour. Back in the 1870s, this jagged terrain presented a nearly overwhelming obstacle to anyone plotting a path. When surveyors were given the job of building a railway between Oslo and Bergen, just finding a passable route was an unbelievable task. And before it was built, 11 other paths were considered, but all of them were deemed too dangerous to build on. The epic construction of the Bergen Line has captured the imagination of historian and author Jan Helge Østland for years. You've written a book on this railway. When you were researching it, what surprised you the most to learn about this line?
The construction workers and the period and all the challenges they had to build this railway. It was terrible condition for the workers. They had the bad food, bad weather, everything was against them. But they did the job.
Construction officially began in 1889 after 3 decades of planning. Workers from Norway and all over Europe used hand tools like pickaxes, shovels, and dynamite to force their way through mountains and hard rock. The Bergen Line officially opened in November 1909 after nearly 20 years of treacherous work.
The construction workers was called Ralla, and there was thousands of them building the line. And not every one of them survived.
With Oslo 90 kilometers behind us, the scenery takes a distinctly alpine turn. And the uneven cliffs in the distance are an omen of the potentially lethal conditions ahead.
In 1971, a huge block of rock fell down from the spot where we're standing now and hit the road and the railroad and swept it out in the fjord.
Why would you tell someone that they have to take this rail journey?
Because you have all that exciting contrast. You will see the glaciers, the fjords. It's amazing. It's the best line we can offer you.
As we enter the Hallingdal Valley, you see why Norway is called the Stone Country. One of the many amazing things about Norway is that more than 50% of the surface area of the land here is made up of mountains. So that gives you a sense of how difficult it is to build railways here through all that stone. It's really amazing. And difficult to maintain. Those picturesque peaks can cause serious damage. The mountains and cliffs that make the Bergen Line so spectacular also make it dangerous. Geologist Trina Hellesemenes is looking for trouble spots.
We're now going up to the top of the mountain. There's a very huge rock back below us that's going to break from down and hit the railroad and the road.
Trina and her crew touched down 600 meters up Bjornafjellet, or Bear Mountain. 350 kilometers west of Oslo, it looms over the Bergensbanen track, waiting to strike again.
In 1971, blocks of rock fell down from the mountain right here where we're standing and hit the road and the railroad and swept it out in the fjord.
Fortunately, no trains were passing when an estimated 145 tons of rock fell, demolishing a 150-meter-long section of track and dumping it into the fjord below. To warn against future catastrophe, Trina uses a laser-guided prism system to detect any movement on the rock face.
This is a prism. We're drilling this small thing into the rock, and it works like a mirror.
Once the prisms are drilled into the mountain, a laser is beamed from a station 1 kilometer away to record the prism's precise coordinates. Geology teams check the prisms a few times a year, looking for movement. If the prism's coordinates have changed, it means the rock may have become loose and could be ready to fall.
Tell me if you see rocks with big fractures behind or other dangerous stuff.
We will take a lot of pictures of it. I've only got 2 prisms on the other loose rock.
Once in position, they drill holes into the rock face so they can screw the prism into place.
The work we're doing up here is very important work. If we see that the rocks move, then we need to take preventive action. That could be put up a rockfall fence at the base of the slope so that the rocks cannot hit the travelers.
It's impossible to prevent every kind of debris hazard, which is why the driver's cab is like a fortress on rails.
The front window is reinforced, so if a stone is 1 kilo and it can hit the front window in 360 kilometers per hour and not go through.
Driver Stian is nearing the end of his shift. A new driver takes over at Ål Station for the most grueling part of the upcoming journey. From Ål Station, the train begins the climb into the Hardangervidda mountain range, where rocky terrain and steep inclines place a unique strain on a locomotive's wheels. which is why the Bergen line maintains a specialized wheel maintenance center in Oslo. Mechanic Arne Nielsen ensures every wheel sticks tight to the track.
We fix wheels for them, and any other parts they need fixed.
The Norwegian railway system has trusted this lathing machine to keep its train wheels pristine for 3 decades.
What's special about this machine is that there's one, maybe 2 operational ones in Norway. This is an elderly lady from 1985, and she demands to be treated with respect.
Using pre-programmed measurements, the lathe shaves material from the wheels to make them uniformly round.
This is like a photocopier, and it follows whatever profile we program it to.
The wheels are heated to make the metal easier to shape, but not so hot that they warp.
Now, I'm removing the shavings that have come off the wheel. This stuff is about 300 or 400 degrees Celsius, so it's a good idea to avoid it.
Just one cracked or warped wheel can cause an incident. Regular maintenance keeps the wheels turning smoothly.
It's alpha and omega, simply put. If the train doesn't have wheels, you can't drive it, you know?
Falling rock and steep mountainous terrain aren't the Bergen Railway's only challenges. The line's wooden sheds protect against snow buildup, but are vulnerable to fire. 240 kilometers west of Oslo, we're climbing into the Hardangervidda Mountains toward Finsa station. On the outskirts of Geilo, the green ski hills show why the Bergen Railway is just as popular in the winter.
A lot of tourists take this train. People come from all over the world, but do you find a lot of Norwegians take it as well?
Yes, especially in the holidays during winter, because, you know, Norwegians love skiing.
Right,
Yeah.
The snow is good for skiers, but it can be a disaster for trains. Up here, the winter can last for 7 months. 1.5 meter high snowbanks are common and can stop a train in its tracks. Like a covered bridge, snow sheds shield the most exposed stretches of track.
Snow sheds were built to protect the tracks. We're actually going through one right now, but one of the major problems is a lot of the sheds are made of wood, so they're really easily destroyed by fire.
In June 2011, it's believed that sparks from a welding accident set fire to a snow shed near Finsa. A Bergen Railway train was trapped inside. The train was evacuated and nobody was hurt, but the shed and the train were consumed by the flames. With 170 wooden snow sheds along 13 kilometers of track, there's a major push to replace them before another fire threatens lives on the line.
We don't want the high risk of fire. So with the steel construction, we take that risk away.
This new 65-meter-long shed uses 305 structural steel beams with steel plates for the walls and roof. Each beam weighs nearly 1,000 kilograms and must be trucked in from Oslo. Because the site is perched on a cliff in a remote area, it's risky business for the workers.
We have to deal with the nature around us. The rocks above us have to be secure.
Carl turns to the expert guidance of geologist Trina Hellesimenis.
These are challenging conditions because the cliffs are very steep. There's a lot of fractures, making blocks that could easily fall down and damage the railway. We have rocks with very different properties. Lower down in the valley we have soft philitic rocks, and here we have very hard gneiss. It's a hard rock with lots of fractures. These rocks are so hard and sharp that even a small fragment can make a lot of damage.
Another challenge is Norway's epic winters, which limit construction to just 5 months a year.
On the Bergen line, we have now replaced 700 meters with steel construction.
Replacing all 13 kilometers worth of Bergen Railway sheds will take nearly 40 years.
we're a good ways into our journey now, and you can tell the landscape and the terrain has changed drastically. Now we're approaching Finsa, which is the highest station on the entire line. It's actually the highest elevation station north of the Alps, and I'm told that it's really, really beautiful, and already you can see the scenery is just breathtaking.
In winter, the exposed plateau gets hammered with snow. So the track west of Finsa has been covered by a tunnel to cut down delays.
Soon we're coming up to the Finsa tunnel. It's a major feat of engineering. It was built in the 1990s, and at over 10 kilometers long, it's the longest tunnel on the entire line. And the opening to the tunnel is really narrow. There's only about a meter of clearance on either side of the train.
Like so much of the Bergen Railway, the Finsa tunnel is a single track.
Slowing down.
Which means when the train in front of us gets stuck inside, there's no way we can pass.
There's a freight train in front of us, which have some problems, so we have to wait here a few minutes before we can go further on.
So what happens now with our train?
Oh, we have to stay and wait. There is no, we are in the middle of nowhere.
This is Finsa Station. We're over 1,200 meters above sea level right now. Well, also very, very remote up here. There's no road access to this area.
That freight train you see is blocking our line, so we can't go further on.
So all 440 passengers on board are stranded. We're stopped here because the freight train in front of us lost momentum when climbing the mountain. Now it's stuck in the Finsa tunnel, waiting to be rescued.
Vi har tatt av kameraet foran så.
Norway's rail traffic controllers, like Bjorn Jalumstra in the Oslo Center, are trained for exactly this type of emergency.
It's not often that we have a freight train stuck in the tunnel, but it can happen.
Custom track view software has mapped every detail of Norway's rail network from the train driver's perspective.
In this situation is to have the help from the Finsa side. If we have a train steer, we will use them to help the freight train to get out of the tunnel.
Our team in Finsa gets their orders.
We have a plan. Our train is going to pull that train that way.
Our EL-18 locomotive and all 8 passenger cars will pull the 1,000-ton freight train out of the Finsa tunnel, deliver it to the station's sideline, then we'll pass beside the freight train to continue our journey.
Yes, they're coming. You have to come on board. Come in.
Well, I'm almost the last passenger to get back on, and we got to go quickly.
Inside the snow shed, engineers couple the trains.
We've pulled the freight train back, and we're going to deposit it on a parallel line right beside us here. Thankfully, though, we have this siding here, and that's what's going to save us today.
Our journey is underway again, but this delay will affect dozens of passengers' travel plans.
When we left Finsa station, the train is now 1 hour and 40 minutes delayed. We are getting information from Nordland. Okay. Maybe they will have a new ferry for you.
So you've got a bit of a travel delay, right? What's happening?
We were hoping to go along the fjords on the boat. The problem is that there is only one boat left today, and we hope that we'll be able to catch it.
We will arrive at Myrdal in about 5 to 6 minutes.
At Myrdal Station, some of our passengers will hop on the train to the village of Flam, where they'll board ferries and cruise ships that glide through Norway's fjords. Luckily for passengers heading to the fjords, we arrive in time for them to catch their train. Myrdal Station is 336 kilometers west of Oslo, and the Flåm Railway branch runs north of the Bergen Line. The 20-kilometer trip descends 866 meters to sea level at Flam. The Flåm Line began construction in 1924 to open up the Flåm Valley, one of Norway's hidden treasures. It's easy to see why it was so well hidden. The track is short but steep. It's a feat of railway engineering. Bengt Hammer specializes in the history of the Flåm Line.
I know the descent from Myrdal down to Flam is quite steep for a train, isn't it?
Yes. Before they decided to build the line as a normal gauge railway, they had a long discussions in the parliament and by the engineers. So they sent many to study the Swiss railways.
Switzerland's Glacier Express uses a cog and chain system to pull itself up the steep slopes of the Swiss Alps. As a standard gauge line, the Flåm Railway is built to gradually travel the 20 kilometers to and from Flåm, so no extra mechanical devices are needed.
Here on the Flåm Railway, there are several waterfalls, but they're not just part of the scenery. They also help power the train.
The Kiosfossen Falls are one of the line's first stops. The cascade runs through a 2-generator power plant beside the falls, creating enough electricity to power the Flåm Line, Flåm Village, and the Bergen Line Railway.
Wow, look at that. It's the most spectacular waterfall on the line. And spectacular doesn't even do it justice. Incredible.
After the Kiosfossen Falls, the train crisscrosses down the Flåm Valley.
The scenery is incredible. It's hard to imagine that they built this so many years ago using hand tools. It boggles the mind.
In Flåm, travelers can either extend their trip out on the fjords or head back up to Myrdal to continue their scenic journey by rail. Back on the Bergen Railway, I'm on the final leg of my westbound journey, but we're in for one more travel surprise.
We have some traffic information. When we come to Voss, this train is cancelled between Voss and Bergen.
After pulling the 1,000-ton freight train, our EL-18 locomotive must head back to Oslo for an immediate inspection.
So at Voss, our last big stop before Bergen, we're going to switch trains to a new train.
Yeah, that's why.
So this is a lot of logistics for you to work out.
Yes, it's a weird.
Ode has spent 38 years working on the Bergen Railway. His passengers are in good hands. As we pull into Voss Station, there's a brand new commuter train that's been brought into service 1 week ahead of schedule, just to keep me and my fellow Bergen-bound passengers on time.
This is Bergen. Yes, it is. Yes, this is a train to Bergen. There is no reservation, so you can take and sit anywhere.
So now we're jumping on our new train here in Voss. This is now going to take us to Bergen. Not part of the original plan, but part of the adventure.
From Voss Station, we'll roll through Stanghelle and past Bear Mountain. Then we'll hug the Sur Fjord before our final 15-kilometer stretch into Bergen.
Hey, so this is your new office on the new train, right?
Yes, it is.
The final 100-kilometer stretch from Voss to Bergen takes us through the western fjords that define Norway.
This is one of the fjords in Norway. The other side is called Osterøy.
It's a truly awesome end to the first leg of my amazing journey.
Well, we made it to Bergen. A little late, but what an adventure, and we're not done yet. Next up, we're headed on an epic journey from Trondheim to Bodo on the Nordland Line.
The city of Trondheim is 629 kilometers north of Bergen. It's called the Viking capital of the world, and it's where my rugged trip north begins. It's 5:30 a.m. at Trondheim Station. And time to fire up the Nordland Line's diesel locomotive. It's one of the few engines that reliably runs on this line into the Arctic Circle.
It sounds like American. Yeah, it's a GM diesel.
That rumble is a magical sound for Einar Ulriksson, who's worked on this line for 4 decades.
Yeah, it's a muscle car.
The Nordland locomotive, known as the NSB Die 4, measures 4.34 meters high, 3.17 meters wide, and 20.8 meters long. The Die 4 locomotive has nearly 3,300 horsepower and pulls 5 passenger cars. That includes a cafe car in the middle and a family car near the back. Chief Conductor Inga Becken checks the passenger cars before they're coupled.
I've seen on every wheel, looking down to see something wheel who is damaged or something.
The train is set for our journey into one of the most rugged landscapes in the railway world.
I'm going to drive for 5.5 hours. What makes this line different is all the unmarked crossings. You have to pay attention. You have to be prepared to stop the train immediately.
The Nordland Line spans 729 kilometers from Trondheim to Buda, and it's one of the few railways on Earth that crosses the Arctic Circle. It's also built across incredibly difficult terrain that required 293 bridges and 154 tunnels.
The Nordland Line departs Trondheim by hugging the shore of the Trondheims Fjord. At Steinkjer station, we'll veer inland through the town of Mosjøen before journeying way north into the Arctic Circle and past Saltfjella, or Salt Mountain. We'll head west at Fauske along the Kjørstad Fjord to our final destination of Buda.
And it seems like we're kind of getting out of civilization now. We're getting into a rural area.
Yeah, you see it's a farming land, people living here, but it's a long distance to the next town.
That remoteness can leave trains vulnerable to the destructive forces of Mother Nature. So maintenance crews fight back with some destructive forces of their own.
Dynamite actually always wins. It crushes everything.
One of the biggest engineering difficulties of the Nordland Line came from the hundreds of bridges that needed to be built. And now, over a century after construction first began on the line, keeping the bridges standing is an ongoing battle.
Are you looking, Stefano?
This is a section of the original Hell Bridge. It was replaced in 2016 by a modern double-track structure.
This bridge was on the original Nordlandsbanen. It was put into service in 1902, but a lot of the details of this bridge are identical or very similar to the details of bridges in service.
This antique section now has a second life as a structural test lab near Hell Station. It allows engineers like Gunstein to get a unique look at how Norway's old bridges are aging.
There's a sensor in the tip of this sledgehammer. It's read by the computer.
Researchers start with a hammer test to figure out where the bridge might be most vulnerable.
When I hit the bridge here, we see read out on this computer the impact from the hammer.
Sensors are placed on 2 identical bridge components. The hammer hits a point connected to both parts, causing vibrations. The sensors read the vibrations' frequencies to determine which points on the bridge are structurally sound and which parts are in need of repair.
And if signal from the sensors are different, then we suspect that there is a damage in one of the joints on either side of the bridge.
To stimulate the stress load of trains crossing the bridge, they use a shaker test, where sensors read the bridge's total structural integrity.
We've found some severe damages that have not been found in the regular inspection scheme, but that just shows that the work we're doing here is important and producing results.
This old bridge helps extend the working life of Norway's rail infrastructure. 180 kilometers into our journey, and the farmland of the Midland region gives way to the forests of the Nordland. Several of the line's 44 stops are by request only and seem to be in the middle of nowhere. In remote locations, the rail crews need to look out for each other's needs.
This was a call from another train. We're gonna meet in Lassemon, and they wonder if you have some coffee for them, for the crew. I get a green light, and I have to leave them the coffee on the platform, take it on myself.
Kilometers ahead on the line. These workers have something stronger than caffeine to perk up their day.
Let me fire. My favorite part of the job is getting paid to blow stuff up.
Here, a section of track runs along a rock face that's dangerously close to crumbling into the river below. Tommy Carlson and his explosives team are preparing a new rail bed on firmer ground. They need to remove 20 meters of cliff to do it.
Today we are blasting around 350 cubic meters rocks.
They have to blast away an entire rock face without damaging the tracks, then clean it up before my train passes.
The train is coming in around 2 hours, so they need at least 1 hour to clean the tracks.
They're using 200 kilos of explosives to blast a 50-ton section of the cliff. But they can't afford to blow this job by rushing.
We have a lot of danger with this job. The height's 14 meters down, and of course you got all the dynamite. Dynamite actually always wins. It crushes everything. Therefore you have to be careful with it.
Once the dynamite's in place, the crew fills the blast holes with heavy gravel. The extra weight directs the dynamite's energy into the rock face.
Then we can control it a little bit and not go straight down in the river.
1,300 kilo mats made from old truck tires and thick steel wire keep rockfall off the track and control the blast.
We don't want the rocks to fly up in the air. We want them to stay in this area. We're gonna blast now. Kobla på. Okay. Yeah, let me fire. The blast went perfect. When the blast goes off, you can feel the vibrations in the mountains and in the ground. It's a good feeling.
1 hour later, all the rubble is cleared, just in time for my train to pass. We're in the heart of the Nordland and approaching the historic town of Mosjøen.
So we've stopped at Mosjøen Station, and the next stretch of this line has a really troubled history. The tracks themselves were laid by prisoners of war who were forced to complete this section of the railroad by Nazi forces in World War II.
12,000 Soviet prisoners built 140 kilometers of track north, deep into the Arctic. It's a stretch of track that reveals a history many in Norway are ashamed to admit.
Because the Norwegians collaborated with the Germans in building this road with the Soviet war prisoners.
After Mosjøen Station, we're heading towards the Arctic Circle through a stretch of track with a dark past. 12,000 Soviet prisoners of war built the line for the occupying German army in World War II.
Just 100 meters from here, you can still find a lot of the rests of the prisoner of war camps.
So this was about supplies to feed their war machine.
That's right. Germans, they wanted to build it very fast because of the war. They pushed on and they used the same plans that the state-owned Norwegian railroad company, NSB.
This part of Norway, the winter conditions are extremely harsh. What sort of work conditions would these POWs have had?
They lived in very, very bad barracks and with very little food. On the top of the mountain plateau, there's winter storms, perhaps 40, 50 minus Celsius.
Yeah.
Many of them froze to death. 2,000 of them died.
now at Saltfjellet, 680 meters above sea level.
As we enter the barren tundra of the Saltfjellet National Park, it's easy to see how the prisoners building this line would have been exposed to punishing weather.
We cross the Arctic Circle in just a few moments, and after that, we'll officially be in the Arctic. I've been looking forward to this part of the trip for a long time. It's really exciting.
You can feel it mentally. You're crossing a line to another world, the Arctic world.
And you will see the Arctic Circle Center on the right.
The train has slowed down because that monument that we are just passing now officially marks the Arctic Circle. From this point on, for the rest of the journey, we are way up in the Arctic.
As we enter the polar region, we're still a few hours from our final destination. The train is traveling north towards the Saltdalsfjorden. Then it will weave its way along the 40-kilometer coastline of one of Norway's most spectacular fjords, all the way to Buda. The route takes us back into rocky alpine forests, where loose rock risks damaging the tracks, trains, or both.
Maintenance crews are constantly clearing the tracks, but they also try to fix the problems before they start.
"200 kilometers down the line, an 83-ton section of loose cliff threatens to fall onto the Nordland track below.
If we don't fasten the blocks, then maybe rain, snow, ice, loosen them. They're falling down on the trucks and make the trains collision.
The situation calls for reinforcement. The crew bores holes 1.5 meters deep into the rock face. A stick of super glue ensures the support rods won't budge.
These two components are mixed and then it's fastened about 1.5 minutes. This bolt alone prevents 16 tons from falling down the railway.
Even though we're in a polar zone, the northern summer sun is taxing the equipment.
Compressor can't get enough cooling. Too hot.
The team removes the engine cover of the machine, and a cooling breeze puts the compressor back on track.
You're drilling the nut, and then we tighten. Not too much, not too less. Now it's there.
Now this stretch of the Nordland Line is protected from the rock above. In the running battle against the forces of gravity and nature, the Norwegian rail service has its prime directive: keep those trains chugging.
We have very powerful engines, and then run, and then run, and then run. Everybody knows that these locomotives, they are the Northern Line's soul.
The last stop on this line is Buda. It's got one of the most beautiful coastlines in the whole world.
And it's the perfect view to end an epic journey across two of Norway's most remarkable railways.
We're here in Buda, and this marks the end of our Norwegian train adventure. And in about an hour, this train's gonna do it all over again, after being refueled and topped up with supplies, on an overnight run back down to Trondheim through the land of the midnight sun.